Excuse me, can we start? Can I ask everyone to settle down, please? A very warm welcome to you all and good afternoon. Today we have a press conference on two international cinema. The first one is Long Time No See, directed by Mr. Pierre Filmon. The second one is Akasa My Home, directed by Radu Ciorniciuc. He's also sitting besides me. We also have the writer's screenplay, Miss Lina Vidovi, with us. I would like to give a brief introduction about the film Long Time No See. 9 years ago, they lived a brief love affair. Now a chance meeting has them reunite in a train station in between two journeys. He is arriving, she is leaving. They have 80 minutes to reevaluate their lives, face to face with their truths, regrets, and memories. This is their last chance. A brief introduction about the director of the film. After studying music, Pierre Filmon turned to cinema, starting with short films, selected in about 50 festivals. He moves on to feature with a documentary chosen in 2016 in the official selection at Cannes, and then wrote, produced, and directed a fiction, Long Time No See. Mr. Pierre now produces his own projects through his company, Almano Films. He's currently finishing his 5th short film. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now our second film for today, Acasa My Home. For the last 2 decades, the Inek family lived in a Bucharest Delta, an immense green space in which wildlife has become a rare urban ecosystem. Following the rhythm of the seasons, they live a simple life isolated from the society. But their peace is soon to be over. No longer able to escape social services and pressured by the municipality, they are forced to move to the city and learn to conform to the rules of the society. The film got officially selected in Zurich Film Festival, Sundance Film Festival, and Sydney Film Festival. A brief introduction about the director of the film. Mr. Radu Ciorniciuc is a film director, producer, and investigative reporter. In 2012, he co-founded the first independent media organization in Romania, Casa Journalist Tulu, a community of reporters specialized in in-depth, long-form, and multimedia reporting. He has been working as a long-form writer and undercover investigative reporter. His researches are focused on human rights, animal welfare, and environmental issues across the globe. His work was published on most of the major international media organizations in the world, such as The Guardian, Al Jazeera, Channel 4 News, etc., and received national and many international awards. A very warm welcome to you, sir, too.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah. I would like Mr. Pierre Filmon to give a brief introduction about film and the thought process which went into making this film. Sir, over to you, please.
First of all, allow me to thank warmly IFFI for inviting our film Long Time No See. It's true and international pride that we are here in Goa to present the film to an Indian audience. And I would like in particular to thank Mr. Prashant Kumar without whom I wouldn't be there today. And just before answering the question, not only my previous film was screened in Cannes Film Festival, but in another very important film festival, IFFI Goa. 4 years ago, I was with you in the same place, and it's like coming back home in a way. So thank you for your welcoming attitude of you all. About the question you asked me, thank you. To discuss about the process of the film could take a long time, because it took me many years to write this project. Many years. Even if the shooting itself just required 5 days, because it's shot in long shots from action to cut. It takes 10 to 12 minutes each time, with two fantastic actors, Laetitia Eido and Pierre Rochefort, who did a great and fantastic job. Without them, the film wouldn't exist. But a film also doesn't exist without a script. And let me maybe tell you a little bit more about this process, which took me years. When I was young, many years ago, I wrote a script about the meeting of two people in a hospital, having each one of them a companion in the coma. And they would meet together in this hospital, and they would fall in love, and they would have this very brief love moment together, very intense, and then they would have to split when one of the companion wakes from coma. That's more or less the story of the previous screenplay. That took me years to write. Unfortunately, when arrived the moment to produce the film, another film in France came out with exactly the same 3 lines of synopsis. So it killed the film. Simply it killed it. It was not stealing any idea, because as you know, all us filmmakers, we more or less have sometimes the same ideas. And to prove it, at the same time, 6 months before, there was this Korean film called April Snow, which was released in, I think, 2008, something like this, which had the same story of a brief love meeting in an hospital of 2 people. So I say, that's life, that's what happens, but it killed the film. So it took me years to recover. I made a documentary, some of you might have seen here, Close Encounters with Vilmos Zsigmond, which was my declaration of love of cinema, with a great DOP, Vilmos Zsigmond, who inspired me very much to dare to do another film. And one day I took off the cupboard this old script, and I say, this cannot just die like this, because it means so much to me. And what meant so much to me was the characters. So I said, I'm 10 years older. What happened with them being 10 years older? So it all started with this spark. What happened about my characters who were still living in my head? And so I decided to have them have a chance meeting in a station, and that's the story starts. And it was written very quickly after that. As you know, maybe a script is not a written script, it's sometimes rewritten, and rewritten again. Many versions of the film. So we arrive finally at today, when this film is made. So it's like I can share all those years in an hour and a half with you. So that's more or less the process of the writing of the film, without which I wouldn't be there with you today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Filmon. I would now request the director of Akasa My Home, Mr. Radu Ciorniciuc, to please tell us about his film and the background of the film. Over to you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having us here. It's a true privilege to meet the welcoming and the beautiful audience in Goa Film Festival. There wasn't much traveling this year, so being here with the screenwriter of the film, with Lina Vdove, is a true joy, to say the least. We started the film Acasa My Home together with the intention of making a reportage, just a short story about how the Romanian government was about to change, was about to give a protection status to an area close to the city center of Bucharest, of the capital, which was considered a landfill, just a garbage dump. But some scientists actually found that in the middle of this green space, with a very bad reputation, there was an incredible and a delicate ecosystem. Some of the rarest birds and animals and plants we have in Europe were there. Basically, nature took over and formed this amazing ecosystem. Among these birds and animals and plants, there was a family living there, isolated for 20 years, a family with 9 children that we met during our research for this reportage. We got fascinated by the relationships inside the family, by the harmonic relationship that the children had with nature, and we decided to extend our research, and out of the concern that publishing a story like this with all the elements of an exotic tabloid story would harm the family rather than draw some attention on some of the issues that they were facing. But this is how we decided to go for a feature-length film. It's our first one. We are debutants, and we spent the next 4 years researching this, following this family in their dramatic journey from living in this wilderness to adapting to a life in the big city, in the capital. I would like to the main character of the film, one of the main characters of the film, Gica Enache, passed away just a few months ago. So I would like to dedicate this encounter with you in his memory, and I would like to give Lina the chance to say a few words about the writing process, maybe about having to work for so many years on this story.
Hello, everyone. It's very nice to see you all here. My name is Lina Vdovi, and I'm a reporter so I'm just like you. I've been in your spots many times in my 12 years of experience as a journalist. But this story was a lot bigger than any TV reportage or any long-form even article that I had written before that or produced before that. So that's how we decided to stop on this family and follow this journey from the wilderness to the city life, basically. So the writing process in documentary is quite different than the one in fiction. I really admire and I am in awe with your work for this film, for your film, Pierre. In documentary, of course, things happen and reality basically takes over the writing. You cannot script or write the lines of the characters. But you can arrange them afterwards in a story that makes sense and that shows the truths and the messages that we want to send and that we discovered while researching it, while working on it. We fell in love with the Enache family because they reminded us actually of our own childhood and how we grew up surrounded by nature, in deep connection with the environment around us. But the children nowadays, who are especially growing in the urban areas, don't have this kind of relationship with nature anymore. So it was a reminder for us of the innocent times and of what it's like to be, of that naivety and also that optimism and innocence in a word. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but if you have any questions
after making this film, we too decided to move outside of the city and with our baby, and so it had an impact on our lives as well, past the many things that we learned during this process.
Thank you so much. Now, before opening the floor for the questions, I would like to ask a question each to both the filmmakers. I was just discussing at the back room before starting the press conference with Mr. Filmon about the film. So I asked many questions, but what I striked and I liked about his film is that about the writing. The writing had to be so crisp in when you have a dialogues between the actors, and that is very much visible that it comes out spontaneously. So just one comment I would like to make on his film is that I have read somewhere, the more personal you write, the more universal it gets. And that comes out through that film. Because the characters are so complex and it has to be shown within a real time of 80 minutes. So the place is that of that much importance where you are going to film it. So I would like to ask you, how did you finalize on the place where you have to shoot the film?
Thank you very much for the question. Actually, I'm reading for the present Werner Herzog book, who's called A Guide for the Perplexed. I'm sure you're familiar with Werner Herzog, amazing work. And I advise every filmmaker to read this book called A Guide for the Perplexed. And Werner Herzog, at the beginning, it's an interview book. And he says that he's a landscape director. He's fascinated by the landscape and it inspires him. And I said, well, I connect with Werner Herzog on this side because I've got a great admiration for his work, obviously. So intense, so rich, so new each time. I love it. And well, actually, those places I filmed in, I knew them every inch of it. I walked past the station where we filmed. I walked past the botanical garden where we filmed and the Café Mort near the mosque in Paris. For a year, every week, I was doing the exact path and walk of our two characters because on the writing process, I knew I wanted to make at the origin a one-shot film. I couldn't make it because it cost money to make a one-shot film. So we had to make a short budget film, as it is. We had to cut the one shot into several shots, according to the place we are. And so, if, for example, a decor, a place was 8-minute walks, then I had to write the dialogue in exactly. It had to fit those 8 minutes if they were walking. But the process being they are going more and more quick because there is a train to take. They are at the end they are running. So there was the necessity to know perfectly the places. And the botanical garden, with its depth of field, added something to the script. I knew those places would add something to their conversation. And the luck we had was with, it seems very trivial what I'm going to say, but with the meteo. Because when you have a very short window of time to make a film like this, 5 days, you cannot direct the meteo. You say like this? No, it's the weather, sorry. So 2 weeks before, the assistant director told me, what do we do if it rains? And I wrote it without rain. I wrote it with sun. But if it rains, then, well, we will shoot it anyhow. And they will have to take out their umbrella, all them, and with the tuck, 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 them talking. So it would affect the dialogue. But there was no other luck, it was a one-shot film. So when we arrived, fortunately enough, sun came to our help. So we received big help from I don't know who, but we felt lucky.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask one question to Mr. Radu also. Okay, sir.
This kind of shooting can be done in film cities in your country, like film cities like Hollywood, Bollywood. Beside going to the place, directly shooting there, is it possible to create some same kind of environment in the studio?
Actually, I'm not sure you've seen the film because it was not shot in studio. We shot completely outdoors, in real public place with the public.
That's why I'm asking.
Sorry.
You shot it in the public, in the real.
Yeah.
But in studios now, environment is created in studio itself to make movies. Is it? It was difficult to shoot in studio, in film city like Hollywood. They are making all the environment to shoot in the film city.
In a studio and recreate all those places wouldn't have
Yeah,
been
couldn't you
easier
create a
for you.
set and then shoot in the film studio or like that so that you won't have any other
Then
problems
what will
of
be the difficulties? It is difficult to show the reality in the studio.
Yes, sorry for not understanding correctly your question. Actually, I'm not very much keen on studio shooting, as I like very much the limits of reality. And you sure can make wonderful things in studio. And I might one day desire to shoot completely in studio. By the way, my second short film, which is available on YouTube, is called Les Épousailles, in front of the nuptials in English, is shot completely in studio. So I have this little experience. But for this kind of story, I really needed the reality around us to surprise us and surprise the audience.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Radu, I have one question. You have been a journalist. You're still working as a journalist. And then I think you venture out into filmmaking. So I would just like to ask, journalism deals with the reality of the world. And filmmaking also consists of reality, but it also has some fictional elements to it. So how do you find a balance in both as you are working simultaneously in both the fields? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. I realized a while ago that, as we were talking earlier in the other room, truth can be built and can have different forms. There's the journalistic truth, and there's maybe a more dramaturgical truth, which is something that we think we achieved in our documentary, in our filmmaking for Acasa My Home. I discovered dramaturgy just a few years ago, and it opened up the world to me. It opened up so many other possibilities of telling life and telling my truths and my fascinations with this new instrument, which is amazing that we can actually use in a documentary. I wouldn't say fictional elements because there are so many ways of directing a documentary or a fiction film. We try to keep it as real as possible, in the sense that we didn't feed any lines to the characters, but we did direct them sometimes into touching some issues that they were already passionate about or affected by. I was just talking to Pierre. I would love to go into fiction in some years now, after I finish with documentary making, because it's excruciating to stay for so many years on a story and films for so many hours. It's a beautiful process, but I believe in the human truth more than I believe in the perishable, the consumers. Truths that we see sometimes in journalism, a lot of the times maybe in more commercial work as well. So yeah.
Actually, what I meant to say is there a contradiction between both the professions, or do you think that being a journalist or the work you have done for journalism helps you in making film?
I think these professions are quite complementary. Journalism has a quite specific function into delivering or showing the emergencies around ourselves, and it studies the event rather than the context. In the documentary making and this type of documentary making, we believe that we work a lot more on the context around one event, and explaining the context sometimes requires spending a lot of time, a lot of resources, which the journalist can't afford, because he has to deliver the emergency to the public. He has to show the world how it is right now. Imagine learning about this virus 4 years from now. How many deaths, and this is the first example that comes to mind. So we need journalism in the same as we need filmmakers. So
Thank you for.
You both are the journalists, and you have doing some investigation stories also. But why should you go to the films, and why should you feel you should make a film?
Well, this also comes from our background. We come from non-fiction writing. We long before we did investigations, we used to make documentaries, but written documentaries. So we would spend maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months or a year on a story, and then write 70 pages. Also trying to put some light on the context of some stories that were quite important for us. So for us, filming this film came also after some years where we gathered and some professional frustrations. You know, investigations as a genre, as a medium, is very formal, and it should be like this, because it, there should be. It involves legality. It involves, stronger morals, and so on. And the creative process into an investigation is quite is turned to zero, basically. So after many years of doing this kind of work, of course, we wanted to go back to our roots. We were longing for creative autonomy. We were longing to create, to show during investigations. Maybe we've seen some. It was maybe tens of times where I've had shots on my camera that would tell the world, that would have so much poetry in there, and those kinds of shots will never end up in the final pieces because legal reasons and so on. So this was our escape project, and it was beautiful because we've had the independence that we were longing for many years.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Okay. I would like to ask a question. I saw a film Long Time No See yesterday. The movie starts with a scene at a railway station. A railway is shown coming in, and the movie ends with the railway. Was there a particular reason that you shot the railway scenes and you didn't choose any other mode of transport, like you could have filmed at the airport or somewhere? Because there have been movies which have been filmed at the airports or any other public places. Was there any particular reason to choose railways? Because in most of the films which have real-time dialogues are shot in a real timing, I have seen that railway stations are mostly chosen by the directors and not other. So was there any reason behind it also?
Thank you for the question. Actually, the railway station opens the mind still today, I think, of every viewer. maybe you know that one of the first film in the history of cinema was made by French brothers called the Lumière brothers, and you can show a train arriving in a station. The first film that they decided to, one of the first film they decided to make was about this amazing scene, very simple, of a train coming towards the camera, and it make the whole audience afraid of that scene. And in the history of cinema, you have many examples of films who use the railway. It's the dream of another place. It's going places. It's traveling at a very low cost at the end, the train station. So it's like an homage to all those great films I've seen in the past, and that take place in a railway station. And what I would like to add also about the construction of the film is that it's a film in circle. I quite like this kind of construction, as it was also the construction of my previous film, even if it was a documentary. The first scene happened in a cinema, and the last scene happens in a cinema. And people in the theater was looking at the screen where it started and ended in a cinema, like what they were experiencing. And I like very much this circle thing, like life in a way. You start and you end, birth and death, isn't it the same thing in a way? So to respect this kind of construction, I liked very much to end the film with the railway station also.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think, yeah, please.
I have a small question from both of you. Maybe you can quickly answer that, but yes, it's a major question. Is that both of you, when you shot your film, which was the major challenge? Like, I'm sure with you, but only one challenge and the major one, which you thought, God, I might need to go back. Like, there's any moment came that way, like only one, the major one. Just share that. From a filmmaker's point of view, I would say that. Was that there something sort? Or if yes, then please.
Yeah, it was super easy. Everything.
Yeah, sure.
No, the challenge was to balance the fact that we were a very small crew, because we wanted to reach and to build an intimacy with this family as it was a family film. We believed that a bigger crew would spoil this authenticity that we were searching for. So balancing that with producing a cinema image and sound that would be competitive, let's say, that would be good, and that cost us a lot in post-production. So but that's another challenge. It was a challenge for the producer rather than for us.
Well, actually, as it's a film shot in long shots film, it was a challenge in itself. Will we be able, everyone in the crew will be able to face this challenge? So you need a really cohesive crew that we would work together. So it was my job to make people feel what was behind every shot and what was the meaning of all shots, for it to fill in the frame from action to cut. And obviously, being the screenwriter, director, and producer of the film, I had also to hope that it would all hold together. It wouldn't make a short film of 20 minutes because we had to cut, because everything we shot is in the film. It was another challenge to say that from the page to the screen, there is not much latitude. I really have to have something that will work on the screen as it works on the page. So it was another challenge. To find the great cast too was another challenge. And post-production, as says Radu very fairly, is a challenge, because you have to have the audience have high expectations, and that's quite normal, and you never have to underestimate the audience. You always have to give the best film, even the best sound, even the best music, the best everything in every field, to respect the audience. So it was a high challenge to to achieve those expectations from the audience.
Thank you so much. If you don't have any more questions, we can conclude the press conference. Any final remarks that our filmmakers would like to make? Then we can conclude the press conference.
Yes, I would like to congratulate Lina and Radu about their film, because it was, I saw it yesterday on a big screen, and it's an important film they've made, and I was extremely happy to be able to discover their film here in IFFI Goa. So thank you for your film.
Well, thank you, Pierre. It's so rarely that we get to meet directors as human and as you, and this is for me a huge compliment to make. So thank you for saying that, and it's been lovely to be here, and thank you for the organizers and that made this amazing festival possible under these circumstances, especially, and that's a truly courageous thing to do, and thank you so much for this. You know?
And I would also like to thank you, Pierre, for your work, because I also went in without no expectations. I didn't know anything about the film, or yeah, because we have this journalistic background, I wasn't really familiarized with your previous work. And I went out of there completely charmed and thinking about many things. So as I said before, it's a film that I will not forget anytime soon. And congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting us here and for making sure that we are safe and happy and enjoying this beautiful weather that we don't have at the moment in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we can conclude the press conference. Thank you.